Hi, this is Bob Weiss. I'm the host of Shaking Your World. Cheers. Folks, welcome home. Yet another episode of Shaking Your World here at the magnificent Shakers in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We are joined today by, well, you recognize, of course, this young lady because as our manager through the entire COVID-cation, she has appeared in a couple of videos in the past. Brianna is here to join us in the conversation, which has much to do with her roots as Latina. We are here today with Nicole, who graciously came in today to talk about the Dia de los Muertos and to give us some insight into the entire event. Mm-hmm. And here we are. So cheers to you, cheers to us. So here we go, ladies. Let's have a spirited conversation. So Nicole, you are Mexican.
Yes, I am first generation Mexican.
Welcome home. So Dia de los Muertos is similar in some ways to Halloween, but it doesn't have the macabre aspect necessarily. It's more a celebration of life, as I understand it, and of those that have passed beyond, and it's the annual celebration, so we don't forget them. My kind of that overview, simplistic, but...
Very.
Okay.
We'll get into it. So I'm actually, I used to do all the gallery tours and talks and the residency at Latino Arts for several years for Dia de los Muertos. So, you know, being first generation Mexican American, sometimes those immigrants that come over, like they want to assimilate to the Americanness right away. And so traditions can get lost along the way. And I realized that growing up, and I started doing my own research based on the fact that I wanted to continue the traditions with my own children. I have, he's going to be 18 in a few months, and then I have an 8-year-old. So I wanted to be able to, you know, start our own traditions. And so then I started my own extensive research. And several years ago, me and a friend, we worked together to create the Day of the Dead parade here in Milwaukee. And so, but that has since not happened in a while. I think for a few years now, they stopped doing it. So, you know, I have not really taught any workshops or residencies in a few years, but I still celebrate it on my own. So Dia de los Muertos is actually, a lot of people don't know this, but it's an indigenous celebration that took place in the summer in July. Originally, like before the Spaniards came and conquered Mexico.
Sure. So before harvest, then, right? Okay.
It was a harvest festival.
Okay.
And you honored the gods and the goddesses, particularly the goddess of the underworld.
Okay, so this is more Aztec in origin? Okay.
Yes. So very indigenous. It wasn't until like the Spaniards came and conquered, and then we had to hide really our religious practices because they wanted you to convert to Catholicism.
Sure, this is the 1500s, right? Okay.
Cortez, all that good stuff. And so when the Spaniards came, you basically had to convert to Catholicism, or you know, something horrendous would happen to you, like
you die,
basically. So a lot of the practices had to be hidden within Catholicism, which is why now it's celebrated on All Souls Day, which is November 2nd. So and then you celebrate the children on November 1st, everyone else on November 2nd. So it aligns with All Souls Day versus in the summer when it was originally a corn harvest festival. So
maize or corn at that point?
Maize. Yeah. So, and so the goddess of the underworld, she was the protector of the bones. So we believed that there was a continuance of life, not like an end of life, but we're celebrating. Versus mourning. It's more of a joyous occasion. And so...
Because you don't really look at, if I'm not mistaken here, but from my perspective, you don't look at that as being death as the end to something. Rather, it's a continuation of the journey, right?
Cyclical. Yes. Cyclical continuation after life. And actually, there's artists that kind of brought kind of what we know, like contemporary Day of the Dead, to what it looks like now, which is the calacas, which are the skeletons and the skulls and the joyous, whimsical nature of them versus like the skull and crossbones type
scary
stuff.
aspect. Okay.
Yeah. So there's Jose Guadalupe Posada, which he was an artist.
Okay.
You can look him up. But he kind of started that whole new like look, I guess. And then like later on you have the sugar skulls and what we know now as Day of the Dead. And then of course Coco, movies like Coco, like kind of making it very palatable for kids.
Sure.
And for people who don't know what the celebration is about, you know, so they can consume it like, you know, versus what I know it as. And so, yeah, so that's kind of like in a nutshell, it goes from an indigenous ceremony celebration in the summer to what it is now.
Okay, so my experience, I've been, parts around the world for little tastes of different things, and I've seen different things. So my experience that it's primarily in Mexico City and a bit in Guadalajara. I've seen some things, and Oaxaca as well. I hear that there is a little bit going on in Tulum now.
There could be.
Okay,
It's
so
not celebrated.
Kind of expanding out, right? And even perhaps even other Latin American countries and Central and South America.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the really the epicenter is Mexico City, at least my understanding.
So I think so like Oaxaca, Mexico City is huge. Not all parts of Mexico celebrate it.
Okay.
So for instance, like a lot of northern parts of Mexico don't really celebrate it,
Well, I go to a place like TJ, and much of the tradition is gone anyway, right? So yeah.
And it's strange. So like you can't like assume that all Mexicans celebrate it because that's just not the case.
Okay.
And for me, I think one of the most important places to recognize for Day of the Dead is Michoacan.
Okay.
Is that where you're from?
That's where my family's from.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So the reason is because the monarch butterfly, they migrate to the mountains in Michoacan every single year for Day of the Dead.
Also symbolic of life.
Yes.
Yes.
And so there's indigenous people there, the Mazahua, who, as far back as oral storytelling can go, will tell you that once they start seeing the mariposas come in, that means it's time to start celebrating Day of the Dead.
Okay.
Because they come back every single year around the same exact time, and they say that's the ancestors of the spirits coming back.
Nice.
And now we can start prepping the altars, prepping the city, and things like that for Day of the Dead.
That's very nice.
So it's very ancestral. It's very like,
So elemental, and I've seen correlations, and I've experienced Santeria in Cuba and things of that nature, and certainly in my time that I've spent in the Caribbean, the voodoo is everywhere. And in many ways, this is almost not an extraction of that, but it's parallel to that, because they too had to hide, under the cover of Catholicism in many ways to continue what they brought over from Africa, wherever the genesis might be. So very elementalist. And we had someone in for an interview maybe last month about who is based in Brazil, and they have their own lore, obviously, as well, as do the Colombians. I've been there. That's a whole different thing. So it's really neat how these elemental components really are shaping everyone's future, and yet in so many ways in the West, we are just muted to that. But I can never quite figure out the like little sugar skulls. So that again is primarily for kids to understand that not to be afraid of death and the skull, I'm presuming, or?
It's mainly just like a little trinket, like
Okay.
a little, like they're usually given in chocolate,
Okay.
the little ones, or it's just something fun.
Okay.
Doesn't have a lot of symbolism. There is
Okay.
a lot of symbolism that happens on the ofrendas or the altars.
Okay.
So ofrenda means offering. The altar is the
altar.
altar.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's very specific things that you do for the altar.
The water, food, I think, right?
Yep. So
Okay.
there's 3 levels.
Oh.
Do you want to know why there's 3 levels?
Oh, of course I do.
Do you want to take a guess? This is what I do with my workshops. No, you don't want to guess at all? No?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the top would be like heaven or the sky, and then the middle is like where we are now, and then the bottom is like
the netherworld.
Underworld.
Okay.
Yeah, so depending on like how you look at creation, it could be heaven, hell, whatever, like underworld, earth, sky, you know. So there's the three levels to the altar. Then you put water on the altar, and the water is there because the soul and the spirit's very thirsty from their long journey coming back from the underworld. You put soap so they can wash up, hand towels, a brush so they can comb their hair, items that might have belonged to them. For instance, like in the past, I've built an ofrenda for my son's grandmother, who was one of the most amazing Puerto Rican cooks in the city, and she was very well known for her Puerto Rican cuisine. And I brought in a stove, I brought in her apron, like cooking supplies for her. It's a huge black and white photo of her cooking in the kitchen. And so items that might have belonged to them or that they were known for, or that they held sacred. And so food. So a lot of the times it's like atole, which is like the oatmeal, or food that they might have liked. You've seen ofrendas with hot Cheeto bags, like Coca-Cola, like whatever they might like. Fruits that are in season, like most of the times it's oranges. And then pictures, of course.
And candles.
Candles.
To light the way.
Yep.
Okay.
And one of the most important things to put on the altar are flowers, fresh flowers, or it's hard to do it here in Milwaukee, but the senpazuchi, which is, it means 20 flower, which is the orange marigold.
I tried to find marigolds today, and I just couldn't. So there are some coming in town on Friday, but I couldn't source them today for this.
Where did you find them or order them?
Oddly enough, Trader Joe's is the one place that has a
Really?
batch coming in on Friday.
Oh, wow.
But I actually went to several florists that are out of business now because COVID. And I called other things. I did the Home Depot and the Lowe's and whatever else I could think of that have a garden center. No.
Yeah. The public market always has beautiful
Marigolds?
senpazuchis. Yep.
Okay.
$10 a bunch.
Bravo.
Yep.
We'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, I plan on going to get some from there. I looked out last year and got some the day of Day of the Dead. I was so surprised because you can't find them here. So the senpazuchi means 20 flower, and the scent is said to attract the spirits to the altar.
Why 20 flowers?
It's just a Nahuatl word, like Aztec or Mayan word, and so yeah, I'm not exactly sure why it's called 20. That's a good question.
But it's not a matter if you only have 19, someone can't pass.
Nope.
It's okay.
And you can actually use like roses. You can use whatever flowers you want. That's just the traditional flower that's used because it's grown in Mexico.
Sure. So festive and colorful as a welcome home. Okay.
Well, you've seen like in the movies, like all the orange flowers gathered and things like that.
A lot of purple too. What's that about?
Purple. I don't know if I've ever seen purple. Yeah, I don't know.
I watched a documentary that was orange and purple.
Oh.
I was interested because that to me almost said it's like, you know, the gold and the purple and the green of Mardi Gras colors and celebration of Carnival, and I wonder if there's a correlation with that.
I don't, you know what, now that I think about it, yeah, I have seen purple. It might just be like whatever's native to that city or town that they grow. But yeah, senpazuchi is the main flower. Papel picado, so that's the paper flags. Sometimes you get designs in them. You can make your own designs.
The cut paper, right? They're so patterns. What does that mean?
So they say that when they hang, that the wind that's blowing through them is the spirits are there. Ah. Yeah. So let's see. I brought my little pamphlet in case, because I haven't taught a little workshop at all in a long time.
But the pattern that you cut into the paper doesn't have particular significance, does it? It's just a...
Most of the time it's like
art? It's just...
like skeletons, dancing, or words.
Sure.
It's all sorts of different things. La Catrina is like a huge one. So La Catrina is kind of like the goddess of the underworld. Mm-hmm. So that's who she represents most of the time. That's the skeleton with the big hat. Mm-hmm. Let's see what else. I think I've...
How do you spell her name?
La Catrina.
I will bring in a shirt for you that I brought back from Tulum from a couple of years ago.
What's her name?
It's Katina.
Oh, okay.
And my mother was Catherine, and it is uncanny how similar this particular artist who painted this shirt actually in Tulum. He's very famous, crazy expensive, but a gorgeous piece of work. Looks like my mother did, and that's why I covered this. But it just
So that picture of La Catrina that you see everywhere,
Yes.
that's Jose Guadalupe Posada. That's the artist. Let's see. Candles, of course. Incense. So copal is the main incense used, and that's from a tree in Mexico, the resin off a tree in Mexico. And that's like the sacred copal that so Aztec dancers, I don't know if you've ever seen Aztec dancers perform, but that's the incense that they burn before dancing, and they do the ceremony.
Can you acquire that in Milwaukee?
You can. I don't know if you can anymore, but in the past I've been able to.
Okay.
And I actually still have a whole pack that I bought off of some Guatemalan artisans that came years ago. So I still have my pack, but you can order online. Yeah, I don't know.
Is there a preferred format with this? I mean, it's a resin, but is it shaped? Is it?
No, it's just like a regular incense stick.
Okay.
But it's very strong.
Okay.
Very strong, and definitely want to have an airy area to like do it. I think that also and salt. You place salt on the altar. See, I'm getting mixed up between altar and like altar. And that represents continuance of life.
Okay.
Images of saints, usually woven baskets. That's pretty much pan de muerto. So that's a special bread you put on the altar, Day of the Dead bread.
What makes that special, by the way?
I'm not sure. It's just always traditionally on there. El Rey sells it every Day of the Dead around that time.
Sure.
So you can just get it from there, put it on the altar.
I remember seeing sawdust painting. Does that make sense?
Sawdust painting. I've seen sawdust paintings, but I don't know why that would go on an altar.
Okay.
It might be just like the artist's interpretation too. So altars can be used for political statements. They can be very traditional, honoring someone in our own lives. They could be, I've seen them where we're honoring Selena or a celebrity that's passed. Most of my altars are political statements now. So I've done altars for lives that have been lost to police brutality, things like that. So it just depends on the artist. I've done altars where I've honored lives of immigrants crossing the border who have tried to cross the border and have died.
So it's not just your family?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be. It can be whoever you want to honor.
So then, along with honoring, then do the spirits appear to you at some point?
I mean, that's up to anyone, whatever they're feeling. Because I'm a very spiritual person, I firmly believe that those spirits who I'm honoring pay me a visit on the Day of the Dead. So I think it just depends on what you make of it.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you know Ruben Flores? Immigrant Project? Okay.
No, I haven't heard of him.
Okay. Milwaukee native. Perhaps I can hook you guys up.
Yeah, maybe.
Got a very powerful message, but okay.
Okay, is he he's an artist or a photographer or?
Well, no, he's transcended now. He's a big businessman, but he has an interesting history, and his family obviously is in Mexico. He's first generation here, but he has developed a coding process for transactions, and he's done extraordinarily well with himself.
Okay.
But he developed this immigrant project to celebrate, the entire movement, quite frankly. So.
Okay,
Really
yeah,
good
I
guy.
actually think I follow him on LinkedIn, maybe.
good guy, good friend. So.
Yeah,
Cool.
I know about that Cash app. project. Yeah. So, okay, so maybe I know of him.
Okay. Cool. So how can we celebrate Dia de los Muertos effectively here?
So in the past, before COVID,
Right.
you could attend a very different galleries in the Walker's Point area specifically, like Walker's Point Center for the Arts or Latino Arts.
Latino Arts, that's at UCC?
Yep, that's inside of United Community Center. I actually used to work with Escuela Verde, and we did a block party, and that was huge.
Sure.
Definitely, obviously can't do that anymore. So, but we had invited the neighborhood to put altars out on their front lawns or porches, and the whole neighborhood was, oh my God, it was so beautiful. So you can build something on your lawn or your porch and light up at night, get a couple neighbors involved maybe.
Sure.
In your home, a lot of people traditionally, if you're Mexican or actually, I would say people of any kind of Latin American, Afro-Caribbean descent have altars in their home all year long. So it's just an extra special day to clean the altars and reorganize them or give new offerings or things like that. So for me, I have one in my house all year long for my grandparents. And so it doesn't go anywhere. It just it's there. So anybody can really celebrate it at home. I think it's just a matter of just respecting and honoring the tradition and putting some of those basic elements. There's so much information out on Google to find.
I remember seeing ceremonies beginning or really centering around cemeteries. Okay, is that done up here as well?
There has been in the past. I know it wasn't an overnight thing where in Mexico they're there all night, music, overnight, celebrating. It's huge. And that, obviously it's so cold here, we're not going to do that here.
Sure.
But I've seen in the past people organize different festivals and activities happen in, I think it was Forest Home Cemetery that happened. That happened a couple years in a row maybe. But other than that, I haven't seen.
Well, it seems to me that in many ways the heritage is not being utilized as much as it should be here as well. I mean, COVID notwithstanding, that you did have I remember you had parades at one point as well. So what will it take to get those things kicked back in, COVID notwithstanding?
I think it's a matter of community organizing.
Okay.
And one community can't really serve the whole entire city, obviously. So it's a matter of who in neighborhood association actually wants to start something. It's not that difficult. The thing that is costly is permits. If you want to close a street off, if you want to
So you get
bring in
sponsor
music.
Mercado Array or something and get Ernesto involved.
We've had to get sponsors involved to pay for permits and things like that, because if you're going to have music, you have to have a noise permit and all those things. Unless you do it inside of a building where, here, if you wanted to do something, obviously you own the place. So it'd be easier to do here. But it's up to every community, I guess, if they wanted to organize a larger celebration for that to happen and someone really taking the lead. It's a lot of work.
No, I bet.
Yeah.
So unlike Cinco de Mayo, which has really become just a drunk fest kind of a thing with little regard for what it began with, this is something completely different, and alcohol is not remotely. I mean, it's not remotely, but it's really diminutive. It's a small part of this, if at all.
It's not centered. Right. But you do put tequila on the altar. You are celebrating a little bit. You're not getting
spirits to spirits. Yeah. I got it. Yeah.
It's a celebration. The spirits are dancing.
Of course.
You even see Jose Guadalupe Posada depicted the skeletons and calacas in a joyous, whimsical manner, and they're celebrating, they're drinking, they're dancing.
Sure.
They're mocking life. They're making fun of us.
Yeah.
So they're haha, we're enjoying this. You guys go ahead and enjoy whatever, but we're enjoying life. So, alcohol is not it's not centered in the celebration, even though it is a component.
Sure.
So.
If there was one protein, one type of meat that was more identifiable with the event, what would that be?
I don't know. Mole, maybe? Probably mole.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like a chicken mole or like a pork mole? Okay.
I would say a chicken mole. I don't eat meat, so.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I've seen chicken mole used.
Sure.
different types of moles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neat. Questions?
I don't. Thank you for this.
I really appreciate
Enjoyed
coming in
it.
today, and I like the educational component of this. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for
And,
inviting me.
No, we look forward to seeing you another day, perhaps.
Yeah, I gotta bring myself in here.
Yes.
Nicole,
Go on a
cheers.
ghost tour.
Oh yes, I heard about that. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna.
Well, our ghost tours, take off in a little different direction
Oh.
than your things do. They're historically based.
Yeah.
And we are built on one of the original cemeteries in southeastern Wisconsin
Oh my
for non-Indigenous
goodness.
people, and we have a litany of stories. And in our own way, we celebrate, of course, the passing spirits on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's hard not to hear because they're everywhere.
Really?
But truly.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I went to a ghost tour in one of the most haunted places in California because
Sure.
my brother lives there.
Sure.
So he took me.
Where?
San Diego somewhere.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was like built on an old like cemetery ground where there was like executions happening and things like that. It was creepy. It was really creepy.
Yeah.
Well, let us know when you want to do this. We are considered one of the 5 most haunted bars in the country. And
Really?
We appear on, we're on everything. We're on A&E and Discovery and Netflix and all sorts of stuff. So,
I didn't know that.
yeah. I like to say that it's really the food that drives us, but this month it's really about the ghost.
Yes.
So,
October.
cool.
Yep.
Again, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, and for those of you that have tuned in, I appreciate your time, and I hope that we've illuminated some things for you. Any questions and calls, by all means, just direct your emails in. We'll take care of it. But cheers.